have in ArchiMate. Component is active structure, service portfolio, interface, process, processor, or function. Function is the wrong place here. And data entry passive structure. Okay, here's ArchiMate. How does TOGAF map to? TOGAF has divided its active structure into logical building blocks and solution building blocks, or logical components and physical components. And this is the two issues in putting the two standards together is that ArchiMate doesn't have this. So it then becomes a, how do we represent this, the logical thing? In effect, Mark Lankhorst is an ArchiMate guru I've spoken to for about 10 years about this. He said basically we're dealing with physical things. We don't really have this logical concept. So I'm going to suggest to you that function doesn't belong here, function belongs over here. It's a logical structure. Mapping ArchiMate to TOGAF. What are we going to call the logical? If that's a logical structure, we can use the word function here for the logical component, which is it's a reasonable thing to do. It's not science. You could argue that interface would be a better thing to put there. You might choose to do that. So here, and I think you've got this slide in your set. There's an overlap between this set and the set I've given you. And this is on my website anyway, if you want to find it. So here's TOGAF language, and here I've highlighted in blue how you might represent the same things in ArchiMate. The biggest mismatch is data area, where everything in ArchiMate is a data object, whether it's a data entity or a data component or even possibly a data flow. In fact, ArchiMate is so weak on the data side, I can't really recommend it in that area. We are in the territory of terminology torture because I've been emphasising service unit behaviour. Unfortunately, UML uses service as a synonym for interface, as in web service. And then it got even worse when microservices came out because programmers talk about components as being services. And also IT infrastructure being as well. So the function process distinction. This is a functional decomposition hierarchy. For 10 years I've been asking people to show me a business capability map that did not look like a functional decomposition diagram, and I'm still waiting. Here's a process. Process has time, it's a behaviour, as it runs from start to end. There's no time flow in this, there is time flow in this. Here's a two-level functional decomposition. I should be able to take all the activities in my processes and assign them to functions in my structure. This is a structural view of behaviour. I call it a structure, but it is a structural view of behaviour. Function is a package of capability. The process has a flow and time. Maybe encapsulated by one service, it may coordinate several services. Data architecture in TOGAF. I think I'll skip this. I'll put something in the paper on that. The trouble is that all of these frameworks that are attempting to please everybody end up with multiple ways of doing things. And I'll just point out one thing here. We could draw diagrams like the data flow diagram that Sachin had, or we could use serves arrows to indicate where services are offered. You can't really practically combine these two. You have to choose one or the other. And to show the individual services in a diagram is actually quite tricky. So we've got multiple. Our problem is not a shortage of ways of capturing requirements and documenting things. We've got far too many ways of doing it. Okay. Terminology confusion. Capgemini got a big hand in TOGAF 9. They call services building blocks. And some people call the building block services. So that kind of piece of TOGAF is just about as screwed up as it could possibly be. If you're doing business architecture, TOGAF provides you, if you apply to this picture, you can see, oh, well, there is a sense to it. It's sort of holistic. It doesn't add up. These things are all about documenting this. I worked through the TOGAF 8 business architecture process in your handout showing you how you can use ArchiMate. Unfortunately, in TOGAF 9.2, they've tried to please everybody by aligning with BizBock, or not really with BizBock, but with the Open Root own version of BizBock. And they've introduced capability and value stream. If you go to the if you treat this as your model of the concepts, and I think the concepts are reasonably clear. Our problem is the vocabulary, because we've got the old vocabulary for that, and now we have the new vocabulary for that, where that becomes business capability, and that process becomes value stream. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just that trying to put all that into one standard makes it very difficult to teach and understand. I'll put we're working on the artifacts. These remain pretty stable. We tinkered a bit with here to try and get some data architecture into the business architecture phase. A possible solution design sequence is here's all the business stuff. What's missing from most enterprise architecture frameworks and meta models for them is the concept of the input-output flow. You don't often see that in a meta model. The objective is met by the outputs provided by the services. The processes obtain, either send data to an information system service to be stored, or they retrieve data. So there's something it is quite difficult if you're a meta modeler to incorporate it. I understand why people can't deduct it, but I put it here with dotted boxes. So our process to either gets or puts some data via an information system service, and here we've got the other. There is a kind of top left to bottom right flow in the solution design sequence. So read the associated paper for the second half of your handout. If you want to know the difference between the service and process, which are the same thing in Capgemini's IIF, you can read that. Or the service and interface, which are the same thing in UML. Process and function, which are the same thing in some sources. In ArchiMate examples, they quite often put the function symbol in a process form. Structured behavior, which is rather peculiar in ArchiMate. Data object versus business object. The issues, the takeaway is, the problem with these, all these modelling notations is, does your reader know what you mean by the concept that you have used this in? I've got a long anecdote about that. If there's no questions, I'll take it. Okay. All the stuff that's in the handout is on the website. This presentation was the more conceptual version of it, which is also on the website. I think the website address is on there. Yeah, there's a link.
Marvellous. Well, you say tomato, I say tomato, and that certainly helps us find a wood for the tree, so to speak. Thank you very much indeed, Graham. So as before, we've got 10 minutes to change over. So during that 10 minutes, can I first of all ask you to go to Slido and answer any of the 5 questions that are available for this topic?
Lord, you look perplexed.
No, I'm just, are we going to get a chance to ask questions?
Yes, sorry, yes. And while we're doing Slido, if 1 or 2 people have a few questions to raise during the changeover, we have some time. Please, go ahead.
I applaud your rigour, Graham. Stunning work. My question really is, is BCS EASG such a long mouthful?
Yeah.
What should we be doing here in terms of trying to guide, steer, create this sort of...
I have a very clear answer to that. You should be stiffening the arm of the BCS to let me update their BCS certificate reference model. A lot of this was captured 10 years ago in the research of the BCS to produce the reference model that they based the certificate on, but it needs an update.
Well, let's work on that, because I haven't met anybody who understands this as much as you have, unless you know someone else.
No, I think I am the world leader in this little niche. I think I'm the world.
So let's do that. Let's set ourselves by the end of the year that challenge, and we'll support you.
I have some levers I can pull,
Yeah.
but an extra lever will help.
Yeah.
Okay, any other question while we're changing over and while we're doing Slido? Sorry, one at the back, I think, first.
My question is,
What is the essence of ArchiMate? Listen to you carefully.
It's just a set of symbols for representing these
So what
concepts.
is the benefit of? Do you have to go for TOGAF or move to ArchiMate?
Well, TOGAF is a much bigger thing. It's a process with, out of the 4 days of the course, 2.5 days of working through a process with the deliverables. The artifacts hardly, they're not even examinable, the artifacts. There are 50 artifacts, and I make a big thing of them in my course, because for me they're central to being an architect, is producing something, but they're not even examinable. It's the process that TOGAF is. TOGAF and ArchiMate do more or less fit together, and I'll try to show you that they do. You'll see in the handout, they do reasonably well fit, but there are some irritating mismatches.
Thank you. Can I just quickly make a comment? I've been teaching students 3 years the difference between TOGAF and ArchiMate, and they get bored listening to issues of ArchiMate because there are so many symbols, and unless there is a concept where to apply.
I don't teach that. I don't teach ArchiMate because there's just too much in it, and there's too many nitty-gritty rules that you're only ever going to use in the exam. Your readers of the diagrams will never understand. I know. It's become a bit of an academic thing in its own right. I agree. You need to trim it. People who do ask me to teach TOGAF trim it down to about a quarter or a third of the symbols in the sort of territory that we're talking about. I wouldn't try to teach all of ArchiMate. Too elaborate.
Was there a question at the front? We're only heading up to lunch now in 4 or 5 minutes, so your choice of how to use your time.
I'll tell you the anecdote. Okay, so I got into this almost by accident. I left Atos after about 8 years being in charge of their well, not charge of their architect. I was best practice manager for designers, developers, testers, analysts and architects. And the most interesting community was the architects, so I spent a lot of time there. I left in 2006. I was sort of thinking about doing an enterprise architecture role. In retrospect, I now realise I wouldn't qualify for that. I think I have now. And somebody said, could I teach to the BCS, the previous version of the BCS certificate? And I said, yeah, I've looked at it. I do stuff in apps, I could do that. And I set off to build the course. And then they lost interest. And a friend of mine said, well, why don't you phone up other training companies? And I phoned up Expertise. And I can mention them because they're out of business now. And they said, oh yeah, we want somebody to teach that. So, I thought, oh, okay. And then I said, I'll do that, and I'll book the course. And their salesman came back and said, EDS, I can mention them because they're also out of business. Said, yes, EDS want to put 150 people through your course. Oh God, that's a job. I can make a living at this. Fantastic. So we go to a meeting up in Milton Keynes or somewhere. No, Hinkley. And there's a manager and an architect who talk about what they want to do. And they said, you've got to, and the manager said, you've got to teach some context diagrams. Yeah, okay, I'll teach them. And the universal modelling language. Well, the universal modelling language, what's that? Oh, you mean the unified modelling language? Yeah, you've got to teach them the universal modelling language because it's universal. Unified programming. Objects will do programming. Do you want your architect? Oh, and who are these people? He said, well, they're integration architects. Oh, that sounds exactly right. I said, what is an integration architect? He said, well, really, they're infrastructure architects. But we decided that wasn't sexy, so we called them integration. Oh, right, okay. It'll be a bit of a stretch, but we can do it. And can you teach them UML at the same time? It was a 3-day course in 8 days. Well, that's a 5-day course in itself. So they called me up and said, we found this UML course on the internet. Can you look at it for us? So it's something he went to some mountain in Wales, a mountain retreat in a hotel to study it for 5 days. It was all what programmers needed to do with UML to generate code. Do not send your infrastructure architect on this course. There will be you'll have a fight. There'll be a revolution. By lunchtime the first day, they'll be phoning you up. Okay, I'll do a bit of UML. What do you want to know? We can do use case diagrams, a sequence diagram, deployment diagram. This, you know, you have to be, you just have to pick some core stuff that is, of the UML diagram types, only about 4 are used. No, okay, 5 or 6 even. Maybe only about 4. So can we have another meeting? Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Another unpaid drive up to Hinkley. So fine, we had a discussion, we sort of solidified the course lines, but at this meeting, can you bring like what your infrastructure architects are going to do? So they put out this diagram on the table, quite a big diagram, and they had the contract filed out in DHS or something, SS or something, and they said, well, this is how we've drawn the infrastructure diagram using UML for DHSS. Perhaps it wasn't. It's going to come to Bob. And that's really very interesting. This is exactly what I need for the course, is, you know, to ship some company. So let me just understand. So you're saying that this server over here is a subtype of that server over there. The techie looked at me. There was a sort of silence. He said, no, they're connected by a network. There was another silence. He said, you mean we're not using UML, we're abusing UML? I said, yes, but don't worry, because that's what 80% of the people do. I said, what you're using is a UML tool, like PowerPoint. And I'm afraid that's exactly how people use ArchiMate also. And probably things have moved on a bit. You know, there's an improvement. But all I can say, of course, is always put a key on the diagram. All right.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ben.